Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are discussing posterior compartment of leg. Our objectives are identify the muscles of the posterior compartment of leg in terms of their origin, insertion, nerve supply and actions. And other objective is describe the arterial supply of posterior compartment of leg. This objective we will also cover in our upcoming lecture of arterial supply of lower limb. But here we just have an idea about the artery which is supplying the posterior compartment. So we start with the compartment of leg. Already you have talked about the anterior and lateral compartment. So this is the transverse section of the leg area, which is showing the anterior compartment, lateral compartment and posterior compartment. Now there are two bones, as already we know. The medial bone is the tibia and the lateral bone is fibula, and these two bones are connected together by a fibrous tissue which is known as interosseous membrane. So interosseous membrane is responsible to divide the leg into anterior as well as posterior compartment, and along with the anterior compartment there is a septa which is known as anterior intermuscular septum, which is extending from the deep fascia of the leg and attaching to the fibula. So this outer structure what we see is the deep fascia which is enclosing our leg. So the inward invagination of this deep fascia as anterior intermuscular septum and its attachment on the fibula further divide the anterior compartment into two, the anterior compartment as well as the lateral compartment, which is also known as fibular or peroneal compartment. And the rest of the area behind these two bones as well as interosseous membrane is the posterior compartment of leg. So in terms of bulk of musculature, posterior compartment is larger than the anterior and lateral compartment. So they are more bulky muscles as compared to anterior and lateral compartment muscles. Now there is another intermuscular septum which is extending posteriorly from the deep fascia, and it is invaginating and attaching to the posterior intermuscular septum known as transverse intermuscular septum. So this intermuscular septum divides the posterior compartment into further two groups, superficial muscle group and deep muscle group, and in between lies the vasculature of posterior compartment, as we can see here. So interosseous membrane divides it into anterior and posterior compartment, anterior intermuscular septum from the deep fascia and posterior intermuscular septum from the deep fascia, and attachment to the fibula make another compartment in between the anterior and posterior intermuscular septum with the fibula is lateral compartment, and a transverse intermuscular septum extending from medial side of the deep fascia to the posterior intermuscular septum near the lateral side is forming two components of posterior compartment, superficial muscle group as well as deep muscle group. So we have two muscle groups in posterior compartment of leg. We start with the superficial muscle group. There are three muscles which are forming superficial compartment or superficial group of posterior compartment. Gastrocnemius, soleus and plantaris. So these are the three muscles. As a general rule, their action is plantar flexion of foot at ankle joint. So they are acting on ankle joint and doing the function of plantar flexion. That is the combined action of all these three type of muscles. And the nerve of this group is tibial nerve, which is a branch of sciatic nerve. So before we move to the picture, what we will see that we have three muscles: gastrocnemius, soleus and plantaris. Gastrocnemius is basically coming from the lateral and medial condyles of the femur. So it is sort of a spindle shape or fusiform heads, lateral head as well as the medial head. Lateral head is arising from the lateral aspect of lateral condyle of the femur, and medial head from the popliteal surface of the femur and superior to the medial condyle. From the condylar areas, laterally and medially, the two heads are coming forward, and at upper one third, these both heads unite together and form a good bulky muscle, which is known as gastrocnemius. So their shape of their heads, or as they are descending down, is fusiform. That's why their name is gastrocnemius. So gastro is sort of a fusiform structure, and then it moves forward and downward, and it converted into, in the lower part of the leg, it converted into a tendon which is known as calcaneal tendon, or also known as tendocalcaneus or Achilles tendon. And through calcaneus tendon, which is almost uh, 15 centimeter long, descends down and attaches to the posterior surface of the calcaneus. The nerve already we have discussed for all these muscles: nerve, tibial nerve, arising from sacral 1 and sacral 2 spinal nerves. The main action of the gastrocnemius is that it is a plantar flexor at ankle when knee is extended, raises heel during walking, and flexes leg at knee joint. So as it is attaching to the condyles of the femur, it is crossing knee joint as well as it is attaching to the calcaneus, so it is also crossing ankle joint. So its main action is plantar flexion at ankle joint, and this function is done powerfully by the position of the knee. If the knee is extended, there will be a strong plantar flexion, as compared to if the knee is flexed, the plantar flexion is little bit weakened. So remember that gastrocnemius is the main plantar flexion of the flexor of the ankle joint when the knees are extended, and raises heel during walking. And the other function, because we have discussed that it is attached to the condyle, so it also helps in flexing the leg at knee joint. Now, another thing which is important for the function of gastrocnemius, that this is powerfully contracts when we run or when we jump. So the main action of gastrocnemius comes when we are running or when we are jumping. The second muscle of this region, which is lying below the gastrocnemius, is soleus. It is arising from the posterior aspect of the head and superior quarter of the posterior surface of the fibula, the soleal line, and middle third of the medial border of the tibia, and a tendinous arch extending between the bony attachments. So it is arising from tibia as well as from fibula, and it passes just under the gastrocnemius and meets with the tendocalcaneus and attached to the posterior surface of calcaneum. So it is a very bulky and powerful muscle also, and it is supplied by tibial nerve, and the function, as we have discussed, because it is attached to the tendocalcaneus, so it again is a plantar flexor at ankle, and independent of the position of knee, studies leg on foot. So its major action is plantar flexion, and also it helps in long standing, so it contracts while we are standing, and it do its function with the extensors or alternative movements of the extensors of leg. So it is also known as anti-gravity muscle. Soleus is also known as anti-gravity muscle, and it is helping us in long standing position because of its multipinnate structure. So it is a type of a multipinnate muscle. Another important thing of regarding the soleus is that inside the soleus there are many small venous channels are present. So when this muscle contracts, it pushes the venous blood towards the heart. So that's why this muscle is also known as peripheral heart. As I have discussed that because many venous channels are playing inside the substance of the soleus, so when the muscle contracts, it pushes that blood upward towards the heart, so it is also known as peripheral heart. We will discuss this point again inshallah in venous supply of or venous drainage of lower limb. And as already we have discussed that it contracts alternatively with the extensors and help in standing position along with also doing the plantar flexion, so it is an anti-gravity muscle. So in long standing, in slow movement of the leg or plantar flexion, soleus is doing its function, and in running and jumping our gastrocnemius is doing its function. Plantar is inferior end of the lateral supracondylar line of the femur. It is arising and also through oblique popliteal ligament and also attaching to the calcaneal tendon. But it is a weak muscle because it has a small belly and it is a long tendon which is attaching to the tendocalcaneus. So weakly assists gastrocnemius in plantar flexing the ankle. And these are the three muscles of the superficial compartment. Now, as we can see in the lateral view, we can see the gastrocnemius arising from the two heads, lateral head as well as the medial head coming from the condyles. And as they are going down, the shape is like gastric or stomach-like protuberance or fusiform in shape. That's why it is known as gastrocnemius. And the two heads unite together, make a major bulk in the middle of the leg. And because of that bulk of this and the underlying soleus muscle, this area is also known as the calf or calf muscles. So we have gastrocnemius. So in the lower part of the muscle, it continues as tendon, which is collagen fibers, strong collagen fibers, and also known as tendocalcaneus or Achilles tendon, and it attaches to the calcaneal bone, crossing the ankle joint. So it crosses the knee joint and ankle joint. It is a powerful plantar flexor of the foot or leg. When you take or cut the section of this muscle so deeply, you can see the muscle which is the second muscle, and we name it as soleus. Soleus is the second muscle which is present just below the gastrocnemius, and after taking origin from posterior part or surface of the tibia and fibula, it is going down and also it is attaching on the tendocalcaneus. And the fibers of these are almost crossing each other. And as we have discussed, it is a multiple type of muscle. And the third muscle we have discussed is plantaris, which is arising from the lateral supracondylar ridge and oblique ligament moving down, and from here it becomes a long tendinous structure and attached to the tendocalcaneus. So plantar flexion function is not so much appreciated, but important thing regarding plantaris is that when we use a grafting for a tendon, for example, if there is a injury to the tendon of the body and we need some other tendon to be grafted over there, so plantaris is a good choice. So we can take the tendon of plantaris and put there as a graft. So it is used as a graft because its function is minimal. Now the deep muscles, we have four deep muscles in the posterior compartment: tibialis posterior, flexor digitorum longus, flexor hallucis longus, and popliteus. And as a general rule, their function is plantar flexion of the foot at ankle joint except popliteus, and one of them is the inverter of the foot, and couple of them are extending the tooth as well as the digits. So individually we will talk about with their function. The nerve is the same, that is tibial nerve. So first of all, the popliteus, which is the most superior muscle, laterals arising from the lateral surface of the lateral condyle of the femur and the lateral meniscus, and attaches to the posterior surface of the tibia superior to the soleus line. The nerve is the same tibial nerve with the different root value. Now this muscle, importance of this muscle is that it has a unique characteristic that it is taking origin inside the capsule of the knee joint. So it has an intracapsular origin. There are only few muscles in the body which have intracapsular origin. Popliteus is one of them, and the other we have already in the upper limb talked about is the long head of biceps, which is taking origin inside the capsule. So in the same way, popliteus is also taking origin inside the capsule of the knee joint. So it has an intracapsular origin and arising from the meniscus as well as the lateral condyle, attaches to the posterior surface of the tibia superior to the soleal line. So it is a muscle which is present in the superior part of the posterior compartment of leg, and it weakly flexes the knee because it is small muscle and running obliquely. So it flexes the bone weakly and unlocks it by rotating femur 5 degrees on fixed tibia. It medially rotates tibia of unplanted limb. So commonly, when we extend the knee completely, our knee locks because the tibia rotates on. So because of the rotation of the tibia on the femur, the knee locks. So to unlock, we have to slightly flex it as well as rotate the femur, which is almost that rotation is taking place only for 5 degrees on the fixed tibia. So femur rotates 5 degrees on tibia, and medially rotation of the tibia of unplanted limb takes place. So that's how it unlocks the knee joint. So the gluteus is a muscle which unlocks the knee joint when the knee is completely fixed and completely extended. The second muscle is flexor hallucis longus, as the name is indicating flexor, so it will flex hallucis, the big toe, and longus, most likely going to be attached to the distal phalanges of the big toe. So arising from the inferior two-thirds of the posterior face of the fibula and inferior part of the interosseous membrane and attached to the base of the distal phalanx of the great toe, as the name is indicating longus. So most likely the muscle which have the term as longus goes to the distal phalanx of the great toe, and its presentation in the body we will discuss in the picture coming next. Nerve supply same tibial nerve with the root value of S2 and S3, and it flexes the great toe at all the joints here it is passing. Along with that, it helps in plantar flexion because it is also crossing the ankle joint, and it also supports an arch which is present in the foot, which is known as medial longitudinal arch. To this point, the support of medial longitudinal arch, this we will discuss in our upcoming lecture of arch over foot. We will talk about in detail. So just memorize that it helps in supporting the medial longitudinal arch because it is crossing the ankle joint. So it is have the action of plantar flexion at ankle, and flexion of the great toe is the main function of flexor hallucis longus. Another point which we want to discuss here is that if we take the combined action of plantar flexion of the ankle joint, almost 90 to 93% of the plantar flexion is done by gastrocnemius and soleus. So they are the major plantar flexors, and 7% is done by the three muscles which are passing the lead. So the major plantar flexors are gastrocnemius and soleus, almost 93%, and 7% plantar flexion, which is weaker, is done by these muscles. The other muscle, flexor digitorum longus, flexor, as we have already discussed, flexion, digitorum goes to the digits, and longus attaches to the distal phalanges. So it is taking origin from the medial part of the posterior surface of the tibia, inferior to the soleal line by bow tendon to fibula, and goes to the distal phalanges of the lateral four digits Tibial nerve is a supply. Flexor digitorum longus. S2 S3 is the same. Flexes lateral 4 digits, as we have discussed. That is the main function of the muscle. Plantar flexes ankle. Again, a weak plantar flexor, and it supports longitudinal arches of the foot. So that point we will discuss in our upcoming lecture. The other muscle is tibialis posterior. Tibialis posterior, taking origin from the introischial membrane, posterior surface of the tibia inferior to the soleal line, and posterior surface of the fibula, and it is attaching mainly to the tuberosity of the navicular bone mainly, and then through it to cuneiform cuboids, the tentacle entirely of calcaneus, and bases of the second, third, and fourth metatarsal, but mainly attached to the tuberosity of the navicular. Tibial nerve is a supply from L4 and L5, and it plantar flexes the ankle, again a weak plantar flexion, and its major function is inversion of the foot at subtalar joint. So here we can see the deep muscle. The first is our popliteus, arising from the lateral side of lateral meniscus or intracapsular origin, obliquely moves and attaches to the upper part of the tibia, and its function is already we have discussed, is unlocking the knee. So when it contracts, because it is running obliquely from lateral to medial, when it contracts or shortens, it little bit rotate the tibia, femur on tibia, and unlock the joint. Now here we can see the muscles. This is flexor digitorum longus, which is on the medial side. Here we can see. Then after that we have tibialis posterior, and then we have flexor hallucis longus. Flexor hallucis longus is present on the lateral side, on the lateral side, taking origin, and flexor digitorum longus tendon is taking origin on the medial side posteriorly, and in between them is the tibialis posterior. That is the location of tibialis posterior. And this is the origin point of these muscles. So here you can see the origin of tibialis posterior also. Over here, digitorum and hallucis. These muscles are moving down. As they pass from here, they cross the retinaculum, which is known as flexor retinaculum. So in the lecture of foot, we will talk more about it. So flexor retinaculum is a band which I will show you in the other picture of connective tissue, which keep these tendons in position, and they move down. And if you can see, the flexor hallucis longus is moving from the lateral aspect of the leg toward the medial aspect to the distal phalanx, as you can see. And the flexor digitorum longus arising from the medial side passes from flexor reticulum over here, and then splits into four tendons for the latter four digits. And as it splits into four digits, it again crossing the flexor hallucis longus tendon. These two tendons are crossing together at the sole and attaching on the lateral side of our lateral four digits and attached to the distal phalanges. So hallucis longus as well as flexor digitorum longus, they all are going to the distal phalanges of the corresponding digits. And tibialis posterior, as you can see, which is running more down, and as it is running down, it is attached to the tuberosity of the navicular bone mainly, and from here there are small tendinous slips or tendinous slips which are moving or attaching to the other bones. Another point regarding the muscles of the posterior part is that the bulkiest muscle along with them is the flexor hallucis longus. And why it is more bulkier, or because it is more stronger as compared to the others, because when we are moving or walking, so there is a mechanism or walking in which we have a stance phase and we have a other phase in which the foot is in the air. So when we are walking, our one foot is in the air and other foot is on the ground. So when we elevate our foot from the ground, the first part of the foot which is elevating is the heel, and the last part which is leaving the ground is our big toe. You can do it yourself. Then when you are walking and you lift your foot, the first part of the foot you lift is the heel, and the most last part which leave the ground is the part of the foot is your big toe. So it needs more strength or more powerful musculature. So that's why the powerful flexion is done by the flexor hallucis. That's why it is much bulkier than these other two muscles. So this is the diagram of superficial as well as deep. Gastrocnemius, two heads, medial and lateral head, and the soleus muscle below the gastrocnemius, combinedly forming the tendocalcaneus. So these three muscles, three part of the muscles, that lateral and medial head of gastrocnemius and soleus, they all are combinedly named as triceps sura. They are named as triceps sura, gastrocnemius medial lateral head as well as soleus, and they attach to the calcaneum onto the heel, helping in plantar flexion. When you remove these muscles, you can see the deep muscles, flexor hallucis longus, flexor digitorum longus, and tibialis posterior in the middle, and they are moving down. As they move down, they pass through band-like structure which is known as flexor reticulum. The function of this is to keep the tendons in position and they move downward and then enter into the sole of the foot. So their further uh, uh, position in the foot, inshallah, we will talk about in the next lecture of muscles of foot. Here you can see the popliteus, the deep muscle, flexor digitorum longus, as it is moving down, and then after moving down it is divided into four slits. Then we have flexor hallucis longus tendon, you can see, and the tendon fibers are crossing each other or tendons are crossing each other. This is flexor hallucis longus, and in between is tibialis posterior, and this is the tibialis posterior tendon which is attached to the tuberosity of the navicular, and then it sends slips to the other bones which we have already talked about. So these are the muscles of posterior compartment of leg. Popliteus, flexor hallucis longus, flexor digitorum longus, and tibialis posterior. So this diagram is also showing you the transverse intermuscular septum, which is dividing the area into superficial and deep compartment. As you can see, these are the muscles of superficial compartment, soleus as well as gastrocnemius, forming the calcaneus tendon, which is attached to the posterior part of the calcaneal bone. The other muscle or deeper muscles which are moving down are tibialis posterior, flexor digitorum longus, and flexor hallucis longus tendon moving downward, crossing the flexor reticulum, which is not shown here, and then they enter into the sole of the foot. So in the sole they lie in different layers, so that we will discuss inshallah later on. And here we can see tibialis posterior tendon which is attached to the navicular bone, and from here to different slips and to the different muscles for the support. And as a whole, these muscles are helping in keeping or supporting the longitudinal and transverse arches that we will discuss in the lecture of arches. So these are the arrangements of the tendons of flexor hallucis longus and flexor digitorum longus, also giving origin to some muscles, so that we will discuss later on. The nerve of this compartment is tibial nerve. So sciatic nerve, as already you have talked about earlier, divides into two: common fibular nerve and tibial nerve. The common fibular nerve moves towards the anterior compartment and divides into two further: anterior fibular peroneal and lateral peroneal. Lateral peroneal for the lateral compartment and anterior peroneal for the anterior compartment of leg. And tibial nerve moves down and it lies between the superficial and deep group of posterior compartment muscles and run along with the artery as well as the vein and supply the muscles. So here you can see that is moving down tibial nerve and supplying the muscles of the posterior compartment. Run in the middle of the superficial and deep group and passes below flexor reticulum and enter into the sole, and then it divides into further division that we will discuss later on when we talk about the muscles of the sole of the foot. The artery of this region is known as posterior tibial artery. So here you can see popliteal artery just at popliteal fossa divided into the crossing anterior tibial artery as well as posterior tibial artery. Anterior tibial artery from here passes to the anterior compartment through an aperture into the interstitial membrane and supply the anterior compartment of leg. And posterior tibial artery, which is the major artery of the posterior compartment, moves along the tibial nerve between the superficial and deep groups and supply the muscles and bony structure of the leg, and it gives them a very important artery just after its origin that is known as fibular or peroneal artery, which runs laterally and basically it gives supply to the lateral compartment muscles. So it is the main artery for the lateral compartment and move down and supply, and then the posterior artery when it reaches down it enters into soul and then divides into different branches that I will discuss in the lecture of soul of the foot and the arterial supply of lower leg. So that is all about the muscles of posterior compartment of leg. This is just the schematic diagram showing the arterial supply of the posterior compartment as well as the soul. Thank you very much. For the question you can ask one email.